All right, everyone. So over the past 2 months specifically, I feel like I'm having the same conversation over and over again. And that's this thought around MVPs. And for those of you that are unaware of what an MVP is, it's a minimum viable product, which is, okay, I have this idea. Let's try to do something with this idea and see if it works. All right. So as for chatbot builders, there's kind of a unique landscape that has kind of made itself quite apparent as I'm having these conversations. So let's run through this real quick. And I think that this is important for us as chat builders trying to solve problems, and also people that are trying to sell these AI solutions in general. Also, businesses that are thinking about, hey, let's start integrating AI into our workflows in business. I really think MVPs are kind of being slept on by the majority of people across the board. And I think it's a big mistake. And I hope that this video will articulate why that's the case. So right now, it's really easy to have this whammadine idea and be excited by AI and chatbots and all of the things that can happen, and say things like, I have 20 years of experience in finance or accounting, or insert something you've been doing for the past decade plus, and then saying, I have this idea about how AI can be helpful and useful, and I'm going to make all this money and charge all this, and it's going to solve all these problems, right? That's free. That's free brain space for us to just kind of live in perpetuity, right? It's just, okay, I have this idea. I have this idea. Wouldn't this be cool? And ideas are definitely powerful, but on face value, they're worthless, right? Because it's not just an idea that you need. Like, an idea needs some sort of focus. It needs attention. It needs to grow. You need to, water it, to expand on the plant metaphor and analogy here. So while at face value, having these conversations and listening to people come to me week after week with their particular idea on AI, I feel like there's something that's missing from a lot of these conversations, which is actionable steps that make sense in the short term in order to maybe build towards that vision, that idea that this is going to change everything. This is going to be so great. I can't wait to go out in the world and use this and sell this. So what happens if we kind of skip this step? And me personally, one of my first mistakes when building chatbots in this industry, I built a product. I said, I've got a problem that I can solve here with this particular industry. And I spent all of this time building out this thing. And I was super excited and I loved it. And I was pouring my heart and soul into it. There was only one problem. When I finally got to the point to present it to my target audience, I realized very quickly that this was the wrong solution for that business. Okay. And I'd spent all of this time building this thing out, tweaking it, and kind of hammering out all of this functionality that I wanted. And at the end of the day, outside of, me getting reps at building chatbots, from a product perspective, it was a complete waste of time because the audience didn't even want it. It wasn't useful to them. And it took me way too long in this process to realize that. And so I've listed a few things, kind of these pitfalls that we can find ourselves in if we don't spend the time building out an MVP, right? And one of these is it's too much time thinking, right? Because these ideas that come through, while they're free, from a cost perspective, from a monetary perspective, they're not free from a time perspective. So if you don't build out an MVP, it's really easy to kind of get lost in this rush of, oh man, all of these good things that can happen. I can't wait to do this and yada, yada, yada. And you kind of almost sit in a dreamlike state with your idea. The second one here, I think, is probably one of the biggest pitfalls to avoid, which is a project scope, right? These scopes get too large and it becomes very difficult for you to kind of thread the needle with this, perfect solution that's crafted exactly the way that you want it, because there's so much development time that goes in it. And when that time happens, you're kind of losing some potential things like feedback and testing and, quality. Is this thing actually useful? Is there quality responses? I had a meeting a month ago with two founders that wanted to build out this product. They had never spent any time talking to ChatGPT. They had no idea actually what they wanted the project to specifically do. So for me to start building something would have been almost impossible for me to provide them with anything of quality, because they didn't take the time figuring out what that MVP should look like and getting towards that final vision that you want, right? And when you're spending out this time and trying to build out this, Whamadyne thing, depending on if you're trying to sell this, direct to consumer or not, you might lose, a market edge. If this idea is super valuable or it's unique or it's a specific application, if you spend months and months and months, dialing this thing in and developing it out to, full feature functionality, there's a chance that somebody else in the industry might also think of the idea and launch their MVP, right? And losing that first to market edge and sometimes be a big deal because from a branding perspective, right? Because you want your particular brand and your company and your solutions to be top of mind for their potential users. Another thing that happens is you kind of get this confusion about pricing. When you don't build out these MVPs and you bring it to the end users, it's hard to have that conversation, right? Because then you're just kind of making up numbers. I'm going to charge you $2,000 or $200 a month or $120. You're just making it up because you're not really getting any feedback from your customers on how valuable this is to them and what this is actually saving them. So building this MVP and avoiding these potential pitfalls, it's definitely something that I think is worthwhile. So I want to go through two examples of MVPs that I've built recently for clients and the positives that kind of come associated with it. So two examples of MVBs, which I'm calling minimum viable bots, which we've got 20-year-olds out here that are just stringing three words together and claiming that they came up with it. I guess I can do the same, right? So for our MVBs here, the two examples that I want to showcase, one of them was an internal tool for a business to solve a problem, and the other is a B2C add-on service to an existing audience. So let's go through this first one. So a manufacturing company approached me. They said, Connor, we have thousands of products, right? We have this product line, and our post-sales team, they kind of struggle going through our products and providing support, right? Because there's a lot of manuals, and it's not a very efficient problem. Like they're sitting on the phone, and like I'll have to call you back because I have to go look up this information and find it somewhere. It's just not a very good process for anybody on either side. So I want to build an MVB. Instead of you building out this full function, chatbot that's trained on my thousands of product, Connor, I'm giving you 12 of my products. Prove to me that I can talk to my 12 products. Okay. And then we'll go from there. Which, great idea. And I got to give this particular company hats off for, suggesting this and understanding that a lot of these solutions are piecemeal, that need to be piecemealed in order to understand them and how they function. So why was this beneficial? Okay. From a cost perspective from this manufacturing company, I did not charge them an arm and a leg to build this out for them, right? Because it was only 12 products. It didn't take me a ton of time to deliver this to them. I delivered it to them in less than 6 days. Okay. So it was a relatively quick turnaround. on time and cost. They knew very quickly, is this something that I need to invest additional resources in? And when you do that, it lowers the risk of the project, okay? Because if in this world, potential world where I don't deliver a quality product, then they can say, all right, well, Connor's either stupid and doesn't know what he's talking about, or maybe this technology can't do what I think it can do, right? Now, they would have had to determine that themselves, of course, but luckily for us, that did not happen. Okay, the opposite happened, right? Which was, oh my gosh, this is awesome, Connor. This is exactly what I want. And so their MVB going through this was validated, right? And now that it's validated, I said, okay, Connor, here's the full product line. Let's start talking about this development contract for you to bring everything along so we can get this final solution and tool built out for my company that's going to be helpful, right? And the other thing that this let me do is educate the client, right? We've got relatively new technology from an AI chatbot perspective. And one of the reasons why businesses are potentially fearful is that they're not sure what's going to happen. They don't know. They're not using it. Their employees aren't using it, right? There's still this adoption curve that has to happen for this to become more mainstream on a day-to-day basis for everyone involved. So because I can articulate well and I understand what's going on, I can educate the client. This is how this works. This is why I'm using this platform. This is why I'm structuring the data this way. And that way they can feel comfortable about the process. Okay, thank you, Connor, for taking that extra time. Because you helped me with all of these three things and made me a happy camper with my MVB, guess what's going to happen with this development contract? There's a pretty good chance that I'm going to close it, right? And as you can imagine, this contract is going to be larger than the MVB. Win. Just makes sense for both sides. So a great example of how an MVB should be utilized. Okay, let's go to the second example. So this is a very similar, hi Connor, I've been spending my whole life in this particular niche. I have this idea about AI. It's going to change the world. These particular individuals had a very strong industry background, very strong network. They were members of an audience that pay over $3,000 a year for a particular service. Okay, now I have an NDA signed with this particular client, so I apologize that cannot be more detailed here. But part of this service is to provide information and insights about this particular industry. So this here is really important, the second bullet point. Members of an audience which pay $3,000 plus a year for a particular service. Why is this important? Because the target audience here is already paying money for something. They're already primed. They already are getting value from this service. So what was their MVB? Their MVB was to extend this service with a chatbot, okay? Pulling in live data, adding additional functionality to this service. Now, what did this MVB allow them to do, right? Oh, excuse me. Oh, I went too quick there. It allowed them to bring it to the audience and say, hey, what are your thoughts about this? Oh, you like this? You think this is cool? Would this be something that you would pay for? And here is the important part, right? Because you have to answer this question from the people that are going to potentially pay for this service. There is a big difference between is it cool and would you pay for it, right? Because a lot of these things that are being built at the moment in the AI space are cool. But would you pay for it? Would your end users pay for it? Are they going to pay for this additional functionality? Is it actually solving the problem? that you are anticipating? Is it that valuable for you to charge the price point that you want to charge? Just because it has a shiny new AI sticker on the front of it does not automatically equate to people handing you thousands of dollars for the solution. It's just not how this works at all. But if you take the time and go through and build an MVB, and you talk to your users and you get feedback and you say, hey, what did you like here? What didn't you like here? Oh, you don't like that UX? You don't like that you have to press a button and wait for this to happen? All right, I need to go figure out how to dynamically introduce that into the chat and just have you ask for it. Okay, that's the kind of stuff that is going to allow you to build a fully fleshed out product, and for chatbot builders to get full development contracts. Okay, I have no problem sitting here on the entry level and building out MVBs. They don't have to be super complex. Connor, can I chat with this data from an API? We have a few APIs here. I just want you to prove to me that you can talk to them, that you can pull in this data, that you can send data somewhere, that you can capture a phone number and an email and then send it to my CRM. Prove to me that you can do that, and then let's have an additional conversation. Then let's add on additional functionality, okay? And when you start to piecemeal these things together, you're going to have a better product on the back end. You're going to increase the chance that you as a chatbot builder is going to build something valuable, and whoever you are building it for is actually going to be happy with the result. So that's it. MVBs. Get out there and start building them, because that's what I'm doing here. That's how I'm finding success with my clients. And feel free, if somebody gives you a large scope and it's got all this stuff, be like, yep, I could probably do that, but I think it makes a little bit more sense. Why don't we set some milestones here? And we attach some payment structure to these milestones instead. Why wait until the very end and we're 3 months down the line and you might not even want this anymore? It might not even be useful for you. Let's take an iterative approach here. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? This is a conversation between builders and businesses. Start having the conversation. I promise you it's going to work out much better than what's happening right now, which is just the wild, wild west. But anyways, that's what makes this world exciting. Anyways, I hope that you found these particular thoughts useful and valuable, and happy building out there. Good luck with your MVBs. Talk to you soon.